This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Tonight, emergency alert. A natural gas leak forces dozens in Dartmouth to evacuate their homes this afternoon. A Nova Scotia fire chief says there wasn't enough support from local emergency officials during recent flash floods. And some parents worry a new affordable school lunch program won't meet the needs of all students.
A chance for showers continuing through tonight across Nova Scotia as this system slowly departs. Some sunshine breaking through for Wednesday. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. It was a tense couple of hours for dozens of families who live in a section of Highfield Park in Dartmouth this afternoon. They were forced to evacuate their homes after a work crew punctured a natural gas line nearby. Jean LaRoche reports.
You could hear it and smell it blocks away. Fire crews were keeping their distance. Police were advising neighbors to do the same. People who live downwind from the gas plume were moved out of their homes to a safe distance.
So they were making a speed bumps there.
The woman who lives in the home nearest to the break says a road crew ruptured the natural gas line. According to the city, they were digging to post a sign warning drivers about the bump.
And it started going all around, and you can hear the noises, like really, really loud noise. And the workers who was working here, they got really scared. They just took their car and everything just ran.
She says fire crews showed up right afterwards.
I was shocked. I was shocked when it happened because, I don't know, it's like they were trying to do it like from last 2 months. We heard about it, like we did get paper sent via mail. And suddenly, like from today, they started working on it, and it just happened really quick. And we wasn't really expecting it. We were trying to stay in first. We thought it's not going to be a big deal.
It did turn out to be a big deal, but fortunately the wind quickly dissipated the gas and there was no explosion.
With natural gas, there's always a risk. If it finds a source of ignition and the fuel oxygen mixture is correct, yes. Fortunately for us, we do everything we can along with Heritage Gas to mitigate that as much as possible. And that's why we initially evacuate the area.
After the gas crew was able to cut off the flow to the damaged pipe, police and firefighters went door to door to take readings and air out homes.
We have specialized meters along with the gas company to go in and see what the levels are for the gas in the area and what the oxygen levels are. So once our readings become normal, then it's safe for the people to come back in the home.
Police were in the process of allowing some residents back into their homes. About the same time, the city issued an emergency alert warning people of the leak and the need to evacuate. Jean LaRoche, CBC News, Dartmouth.
Meanwhile, questions remain about why an alert wasn't issued earlier during the recent flash flooding in the Annapolis Valley. Heavy rain led to major damage and the death of a 13-year-old boy. One fire chief in the area says there was not enough support from local emergency officials. The CBC's Haley Ryan has more.
On July 11th, the rain just kept coming, sweeping along western Nova Scotia and triggering flash floods in 4 counties. Kings County was hit hard as crews dealt with roads underwater, washed out driveways, and flooded businesses.
This was the worst flooding I've seen in my lifetime here.
Jason Ripley is chief of the Greenwich Volunteer Fire Department just outside Wolfville. Ripley says he wanted more support from the Regional Emergency Management Office, which serves the 4 municipalities in Kings County. He says they never activated the Emergency Coordination Center, even though Ripley believes its highest level was justified.
When you start to reflect and we look at, what could have been improved and how this evening played out, that's one of my big questions, I guess, as to why that didn't occur.
No municipality ever requested an emergency alert. Instead, the province took the unusual step to issue one at 8:30 p.m. after Municipal Affairs Minister John Lohr called the provincial EMO. A 13-year-old boy in Wolfville died after being pulled into rushing water about an hour before the alert. Ripley says crews in his area helped in the dramatic flooding in West Hants last year when 4 people died.
There were a lot of lessons learned as a result of that, and it was just somewhat disappointing to me that those lessons, which were easily available to us, weren't very well applied.
Brett Titanish is chief of the Brooklyn Volunteer Fire Department near Windsor in West Hants. Flooding calls had just started coming in there when the alert went out.
So for them, it may not have been on time, but for us, it here in Brooklyn, in West Hants, it certainly was.
The mayor for the County of Kings says they are assessing the event and will make changes if needed, but he will not be criticizing or second-guessing how things unfolded. Fire departments and municipal police forces will soon be allowed to issue alerts directly. The province says giving access to first responders can save precious time in an emergency. Haley Ryan, CBC News, Halifax.
Our CMP are investigating 2 suspicious fires in Pictou County on Saturday that they believe to be connected. Around 1:20 a.m., crews were called to a vehicle on fire in a parking lot near exit 27 on Highway 104 in Sutherland's River. Officers arrived to find an empty vehicle fully engulfed in flames. About 30 minutes later, another call came in about an abandoned mill on Shore Road in Edgerton. The building, which was believed to be empty, was on fire. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward. We have an update tonight on a story we've been following for more than a year now. Healthcare workers who came to Nova Scotia from a refugee camp in Kenya are settling into their new jobs. They were recruited specifically to help fill a labor shortage. Kayla Hounsell shows us how they're adjusting to life in Canada.
Patricia Omar Kamsor and Abdifata Subreya say they love helping people, but they also say Canada has helped them.
I'm getting used to it, so it's becoming good.
So, honey, I want you to roll towards me.
They are continuing care assistants at a new nursing home in rural Nova Scotia, but their journey began a long way from here.
How long have you lived here?
14 years.
We first met them at this refugee camp in Kenya. They'd been approved to come to Canada as healthcare workers under a new federal program that aims to bridge the gap between qualified displaced people and labor shortages. But they'd already been waiting 2 years.
You know, there's nothing that will make me believe it all or know that I will go.
They finally arrived in October as permanent residents. 300 people have now come to Canada this way. Ottawa hopes to resettle 2,000 people over the next few years.
It's made it a lot easier for us to transition to a new home, expand our workforce, and have enough staff to run the facility.
Do you want orange juice?
The newcomers say they are already creating relationships with the residents.
And I really love them. Anytime I go home, I do miss them.
You know, in our culture, if someone's elder, they are like our parents, so I'm always treat them like my parents.
But it has not been without challenges. They're looking for permanent housing now that it's time to move out of the homes they're renting from the company. There is no African food in this small coastal town, and though first attracted to the idea of snow,
what do you think?
Very good.
Subreya has changed his mind.
Winter was never had.
They both plan to become nurses, and they're encouraging other Canadian companies to recruit from refugee camps because they say they've left many skilled friends behind. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Mahone Bay, Nova Scotia.
All right, Ryan. So thankfully no snow out there. A little bit of wet weather, not too heavy though.
Yeah, we had some kind of widespread showers across the western half of the province so far today, and a couple of isolated showers further east. Some heavier downpours earlier in the Digby Neck area and towards Digby County, and then up through the valley today. That's where we've had the most substantial rainfall. Still seeing some of those pockets of yellow and orange there moving through with that line. This has been dropping about 10 millimeters of rain and up to 15 in some of the locally heavier sections based on some of the local weather stations. Again, lighter showers down along the Atlantic coastline, and this is now crawling along the eastern shore and into Guysborough County, and a couple of light showers starting to creep down towards Antigonish County as well. So everybody getting at least a little shot here, but this isn't enough to satisfy most of us, because we do need the wet weather. Little low here that is off to the south, and that again is going to be working its way out. And we've got tomorrow some sunny breaks developing, no question about that. And then just an isolated risk of a pop-up shower into the afternoon. The greatest risk is going to be right in here, central towards western areas of the province. The greatest risk for a lingering shower tomorrow morning is going to be across Cape Breton and down into Guysborough County, edging into Halifax. And you'll see here, as that low scoots to the south, there is that lingering risk tomorrow morning just across the south and east. And then that low will depart, and then we're going to be looking at, again, some sunny breaks with just a few isolated pop-up showers into the afternoon, but again, a very low risk there. Now for Thursday, building system off to our west, and that will increase the clouds. Looks like generally a cloudy day, but a dry day on Thursday. And then our greatest risk for showers is going to be Thursday night into Friday morning. That not looking as substantial as it once did either. Isolated risk for Friday afternoon. And then all aboard the sunshine train for the weekend into next week. And Mother Nature really turning up the thermostat as well, Amy. We'll break it down with your 7-day forecast coming up.
I think you're getting the timing perfected for the weekend.
It seems that way.
It's going well.
Was, yeah, definitely over the last few weeks.
Yeah, knock wood. Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
One of Canada's top tick experts is warning Nova Scotians to watch out for a tick-borne disease called anaplasmosis. Cases of the bacterial infection have been steadily increasing over the past 15 years.
So anaplasmosis is just like Lyme, a bacterial infection that's transmitted by the bite of a tick being attached to you and feeding on you for over 18 hours. And it infects white blood cells. So your common symptoms are actually going to be quite general and flu-like, not feeling too well, tiredness, and fever.
I talked to tick expert Heather Coatsworth about how you can protect yourself. That's our newsmaker just after 6:30. When the province rolls out its school lunch program this October, there will be 2 meal options served every day at more than 250 elementary schools across Nova Scotia. But some parents are left wondering how the program will meet the diverse dietary needs of all students and if their child will be able to safely participate. Nicholas Sagan reports.
Alexander Hayward wants to eat school lunches with his friends and not worry about getting sick. He has celiac disease, and even cross-contamination with gluten can be dangerous. His parents hope the new school lunch program serves meals that are inclusive for everyone.
Getting served lunch with everybody else is important, so I think there's that component as well that we don't really think about enough.
The family makes separate meals for Alexander, and sometimes they all eat gluten-free, but that's expensive and time-consuming.
It would be nice as a bit of a break, too, for parents to be able to, opt into the program and have an affordable meal that they can access at school, even just, once or twice a week would be great.
The program will use a pay-what-you-can model, so all students can afford it. The province says 2 meal options will be available at every participating school daily. One will be vegetarian, and parents can access an ingredient list to make sure the meal is safe for their child. But for some religions, vegetarian doesn't always mean culturally competent.
Often the vegetarian option is something that's so bland and plain that people bring their own food from home. And the whole purpose of the school education program is to support struggling families. So let's make it really helpful for them by giving them options that work for them and for their kids.
The Education Department put out a survey for parents this month looking for feedback. It's now closed, and many of the comments praised the program. But some parents still had questions about how the province will pull it off without leaving anyone out.
It's important that students see themselves reflected in schools, and that means in food that's available in schools also. So that can happen in a variety of ways.
Advocates say it can be done, but individual schools know their students best.
I think that there's going to be a need for local level adaptations and connections between, families and food service providers and administration to make sure that the food that's being served in that individual school is meeting the needs of those students.
The education department says the goal is to be inclusive to all allergies, health conditions, and cultures. So hearing from parents and students will be important as the program evolves. Nicola Sagan, CBC News, New Glasgow.
The provincial government is launching a new program to encourage Nova Scotians to buy local. It's called Nova Scotia Loyal. It includes 2 new consumer loyalty retail partnerships with Sobeys and the Nova Scotia Liquor Corporation. Among its initiatives is a new branding policy where all Nova Scotia items in Sobeys and NSLC stores will have new and easy-to-see Nova Scotia Loyal labeling.
The partnership here at Sobeys will include a Nova Scotia Loyal Week once a month, starting on July 25th, so starting this week, where Scene Plus points will be offered on those local products that you'll find thanks to these stickers and signage bearing the logo.
To know that there is a mission specifically spotlighting businesses like ours means the world to us, so thank you. And at the Halifax Honey Company, we're thrilled to see our government taking bold steps to support so many businesses. This initiative will enhance our local economy and highlight the diversity and talent within our province.
The government is spending $6 million on the new program. The partnership with NSLC will also include new store displays for local products and offer additional bonus Air Miles rewards to customers buying them. More than 30 local markets across the province are participating in Nova Scotia's Farmers Market Week. Tantallon Village Farmers Market kicked off the event and attracted a crowd despite the threat of rain. Vern Ramazar went to Tantallon to find out more.
I'm here at the Tantallon Village Farmers Market with Kim Farnell, who's the social media coordinator for the market. Kim, thank you for being here.
Nice to be here.
Now, this is we're sort of in the middle now of Farmers Market Week in Nova Scotia. Tell me about how important this market is to the community.
This market to the community is really important. It's a great space for people to gather. Kids can be here. It's a nice open space that's on the grass. It's not in a parking lot, so it's nice and safe. A lot of vendors bring their kids as well. It's been really important, especially after the fires we had last year. A lot of the vendors were affected by that, either directly or indirectly. So it's been a really nice piece to have the community come together, and just a nice social space for everyone to enjoy.
Tell me about the impact the wildfires had, really.
They did really impact a lot of the vendors. A few of the vendors, unfortunately, did have houses that got burnt down. Thankfully, that was in the minority, but a lot of people, including a lot of the volunteers, were affected. So it was definitely a big, impactful event for us here at Tantallon. So it's been nice that this summer has been a little bit less eventful, which I'm hoping is going to continue. But yeah, it was a big deal for us. So it was really nice that we got back on track so quickly after the fires.
Now, and even as we speak, there's a bit of a drizzle going on, so that's probably a good sign that we won't have a problem with that today. But in terms of the crowds here, I mean, there seem to be a lot of people. Is this a normal day, or is this a...
This is a pretty quiet day for us, actually. I would say normally on a nice sunny day, we probably have around 1,000 customers that come in on any given, Tuesday afternoon. Vendors were around the 40 mark for how many vendors we have per market. So we've really grown this year. Even from last year to this year, we've really kind of bumped up from, both vendors and customers. So it's really nice to see the community support for the market, that, we wouldn't be here without the volunteers and the customers. So obviously people like it and they keep coming back.
And I gather it's not just the community, you also have people coming from further afield to come to this market.
Yeah, we do. We have some some vendors coming all the way from Bridgewater. We've got vendors coming from the city. We've got vendors coming from Fall River up in the valley. They come from all around, which is great that they still want to come.
Now, this is obviously you're taking part in Farmers Market Week in Nova Scotia. Tell me about the aim of Farmers Market Week and the idea of encouraging people to buy local.
Yeah, I think Nova Scotia is great in the sense that we have a really strong buy local philosophy already, which is really handy. And it's really important to support your local farmers. If we don't support our local farmers, they won't be able to keep going. So by giving them a platform platform that they can sell their gear straight to the customers with no middleman. It's really nice. So Farmers Market of Nova Scotia Week kind of just highlights that, seeing if we can get the word out to try and buy local, support your farmer, and we're just trying to be a drop in the bucket of that.
And the province has been promoting buy local. I guess you're all for that, are you?
I'm definitely all for that. Yes, the schools vouchers have been really popular this year. So each child got a $10 voucher that they could spend at a local Nova Scotia farmers market, and they have been very well received. We are one of the markets that are accepting those vouchers. So if you've got kids and they've gotten a voucher, you can come on down and they can spend it here.
Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
No worries. Hope you enjoy the market.
Coming up, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris holds her first presidential campaign rally in Wisconsin. And the director of the U.S. Secret Service resigns after a disastrous hearing over the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And enjoying the beautiful Lawrencetown Beach. Ryan is up next with full weather forecast. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Yep, clouds are rolling in.
Yeah, and some showers. We did see some heavier downpours earlier, as I mentioned, Digby County, Annapolis County in particular. Those kind of eased, but did give some beneficial rain to the Annapolis Valley region, edging down towards places like Caledonia and New Ross as well, but really have kind of fizzled a little bit as they've worked their way eastward. Have a look and you can see one of these showers that we're speaking of right now. This is
gray skies.
Yeah, a shot from Wolfville just moments ago, and you can see right in the dead center of the camera there, that is a shower off in the distance looking eastward. And the temperature in Wolfville right now, right around 20 degrees. And indeed, some showers. And we'll get to the radar in just a moment. Let's show you where we are temperature-wise. And it is right around 20 degrees for the Kentville, Wolfville area and Halifax as well. A little cooler, obviously, in those onshore winds down towards the South Shore. And again, the water temperature right around 12-13 degrees there, and so Western Head feeling all of that right now with an onshore wind and some fog in the mix, and you can see temperatures edging up closer to the low to mid-20s. Truro and towards Sydney, our hotspot right now at 24 degrees. Humidex values, yeah, it definitely has been a little more muggy today, so it is adding a little more to the feel. Dew point values have creeped up towards the noticeable to humid range across the province and edging even a little bit stickier than that in the Yarmouth area at last check. So this is kind of the line that continues to work its way eastward. And again, it's not as substantial as it was when it first worked in this morning for, as I said, in particular, the Digby County area and Annapolis County. That front will continue to, that system will continue to work its way off to the east. And this low will be darting south of the province, and we'll be seeing those showers on the northern edge kind of fizzle out into tomorrow morning. This system here over the Great Lakes, that is going to be moving in with another shot late Thursday night, more specifically, with a lingering chance of a shower on the backside of it into Friday. And then this area of high pressure is going to take over for a good few days. And you can see it's also going to be bringing with it some pretty warm, hot temperatures, high 20s, edging into the 30s by the time we get to early next week by the looks of things. Not nearly as hot as it is obviously in Vegas and Phoenix right now, but yeah, some warm temps indeed. Tonight, the winds generally light, but from the northeast, 10 to 20 kilometers per hour. Winds will be light for Cape Breton tonight, and then you'll tap into the northeast winds on the backside of this system tomorrow. There's midnight, system edging south. Tomorrow morning, still some lingering shower chances. The greatest risk will be Cape Breton, Guysborough County, Antigonish County, into Halifax, Eastern County. And then we're going to be seeing some sunny breaks developing, but I think the clouds are going to be pretty stubborn tomorrow from start to finish. Some sun breaks is the best way to put it. And there's just an isolated risk of a shower here tomorrow afternoon, but overall pretty quiet. So the greatest risk again for showers will be right here in the eastern third of the province with northeast winds gusting to 30. And again, as we move into central, this is going to be our better chance of some sun starting to pop out into the afternoon with a very isolated risk, 30 to 40% of a shower popping up. But this is where temperatures will be warmest tomorrow, except for the fact that an onshore wind will develop into the afternoon. So a bit of a sea breeze setting up there. Now for Thursday, clouds again a bit dominant, but some sunny periods, especially for northern areas and away from what will be an light onshore flow for Thursday ahead of this next system. And you can see those onshore winds there with those arrows. That front comes through Thursday night into Friday morning, and then that isolated risk of a shower on the backside of this system for Friday afternoon, but it does look like a very isolated risk. Note the muggy meter riding in the notably noticeable range for the next few days. Stays that way Friday into Saturday, even creeping down a little bit, and then that uptick Sunday and into next week. And that is also when Mother Nature appears to really turn the thermostat up. So the weekend looking nice indeed, but beware that things next week could turn quite warm indeed.
All right, we'll be ready. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Well, up next, I'll talk with tick expert Heather Coatsworth, and I'll ask about the growing number of cases of a tick-borne illness called Anaplasmosis in Nova Scotia. That is our newsmaker. Stay with us. You're watching CBC Nova Scotia News. Lyme disease is not the only tick-borne illness Nova Scotians need to watch out for. Cases of anaplasmosis, an infection spread by ticks, have been steadily increasing. Ticks carrying the disease are primarily found in Nova Scotia, Quebec, and Ontario. For more on this, we're joined by Heather Coatsworth, one of the Public Health Agency of Canada's top tick experts. So we've heard a lot, of course, about Lyme disease in recent years, but not so much about anaplasmosis. Can you first talk about what that is and the symptoms that arise from it?
Yeah, so anaplasmosis is just like Lyme, a bacterial infection that's transmitted by the bite of a tick being attached to you and feeding on you for over 18 hours. And it infects white blood cells, so your common symptoms are actually going to be quite general and flu-like, not feeling too well, tiredness, and fever.
Well, how does it compare to Lyme disease?
So anaplasmosis, since it is more of a traditional blood disease, doesn't have that kind of long-term symptomology that we see often with Lyme. With Lyme, you get kind of those lingering arthritic-like symptoms, and we don't tend to see that with anaplasmosis. Most cases resolve on their own. However, some cases can be fatal or cause severe respiratory distress.
Is it the same type of tick that transmits it, or?
Yep, the exact same ticks. The primary ticks that transmit anaplasma are those same black-legged ticks that are associated with Lyme already, so those Exodes species ticks.
Well, is there any reason why ticks carrying anaplasmosis are found in this province so much?
So Nova Scotia, Ontario, and Quebec are all kind of higher areas just based on high tick populations in general. They were kind of the first areas that had these Exodes species ticks in Canada, and they've just had a bit more time to establish the population in these three provinces.
Any parts of Nova Scotia that are more prone to tick problems?
So generally speaking, most of Nova Scotia is kind of a hotbed for most ticks in general, especially Lyme. And right now we're kind of seeing any area that is higher incidence for Lyme is generally speaking going to be higher for anaplasma as well.
Well, can you talk a bit about the kind of growth in cases of anaplasmosis that you've been seeing?
So we just started tracking cases on a national level this year. They're only nationally notifiable as of this year. So specific case counts are a bit harder to detect, but we know how many individuals likely tested positive in former years. And back in the early 2000s, when we first started kind of seeing anaplasmosis in Canada, we were only getting a handful of cases, so maybe 1 or 2 cases every year. And now we're looking at upwards of hundreds of cases a year in each of those provinces. Largely, this is due to those expanding tick populations, both moving into new geographical areas, as well as increasing the population in the same areas. And we are seeing kind of a spillover from the natural animal environment into the human system as well.
Well, how concerned should people be?
I think it's just kind of general concern of when you're going outside and you're already thinking about Lyme, kind of shifting your perception to Lyme and other tick-borne diseases. And that's both for all of us as we go outside and enjoy the outdoors, as well as for health practitioners too.
So what are the best ways to prevent getting either anaplasmosis or Lyme disease? What are the steps people might be able to take?
So kind of your traditional tick prevention techniques, which is going to be wearing long sleeves, wearing long pants, and tucking your socks into your pants, potentially wearing pre-treated clothes if you can get them. They're commercially available and you can make them yourselves by pre-treating your clothes with an acaricide known as permethrin. You can also spray yourself with a normal insecticide. Any deep-based insecticide will work well against ticks as well. Generally staying on well-groomed paths and walkways, so trying to not go through those high grassy areas or through wooded areas, as well as the biggest thing is going to be doing tick checks on yourself and your loved ones.
Well, if you do find a tick on yourself, what do you do then?
So the first thing is obviously remove it safely. You want to be taking it out as close to the skin as possible. And then what you can do is snap a picture of that tick and upload it to eTick, which will tell you an identification of what tick that is, which will help base how nervous you may be in your area of exposure, depending on the tick species that actually was attached to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the information on this. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, a wildfire in Alberta forces 10,000 residents and visitors to evacuate from Jasper National Park. Welcome back. Alberta's famed Jasper National Park is now at the center of the province's wildfire crisis. Evacuation orders for both the park and town came late yesterday. The fire blocked out all but one road, with heavy traffic having to creep through thick smoke. The CBC's Travis McEwen reports.
Margot Bereska and Ian Sheldon feel lucky to be together in their camper with their kids. Margot was in a campground while the rest of the family were in town with her phone when they got the evacuation order.
Bit of a scary drive leaving, you know. It was very apocalyptic in the sense of a lot of smoke coming in very fast and wondering what was going to happen with them and not having communication.
The town of Jasper has close to 5,000 residents, but this is peak tourism season. There's estimated to be another 20,000 people who were in the area when the evacuation order was issued on Monday night. Many evacuees were sent east to Valemount, British Columbia, as the other two highways were deemed as unsafe. A drive that should take an hour and a half, but many people spent hours in gridlock traffic. Parks Canada says the fire threat remains, and it's now focused on adding more resources to fight the fires, including Alberta's equipment and firefighters. Meanwhile, Jasper residents are left to ponder where to go while they wait out the evacuation order.
Yeah, maybe Walmart tonight, and then maybe find a campsite locally if we can, if they're not all full, and then maybe a friend's driveway if we need to get out away from the highway noise.
Another thing that makes the evacuation of a national park more complex, the presence of backcountry campers. Parks Canada is sending helicopters to designated campsites and trailheads to ensure that campers avoid fire danger. Travis McEwen, CBC News, Hinton.
Kamala Harris held her first presidential campaign rally today. The U.S. Vice President was in the battleground state of Wisconsin this afternoon. The CBC's Paul Hunter has more.
To loud and sustained cheering. In her first public event since Joe Biden ended his bid for re-election, Kamala Harris had some news to pass on.
So, Wisconsin, I am told as of this morning that we have earned the support of enough delegates to secure the Democratic nomination.
It's been that kind of week for Harris. On top of the light-speed gathering of delegates, she's had more than $100 million in donations in just 2 days, 30,000 new campaign volunteers, and more big-time endorsements from senior Democrats.
We are brimming with excitement, enthusiasm, unity.
Senator Chuck Schumer and House Majority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
I'm proud to strongly endorse Kamala Harris to be the 47th President of the United States of America.
It's a stunning turnaround for a party that had seemed effectively energyless until Biden stepped aside. At that rally, Harris again highlighted her background as a prosecutor as well suited to take on Donald Trump, a convicted felon, urging those in the room to now work to that end.
We have doors to knock on, we have phone calls to make, we have voters to register, and we have an election to win.
This as the vice president's campaign seeks to continue to grow the apparent widespread enthusiasm. Embracing popular online memes and videos such as this, for example, on so-called brat life.
I'm just living that life.
While singer Beyonce has signed off on the use of this song throughout the Harris run for the White House. By contrast, on social media, Donald Trump today called his new opponent Lion Kamala Harris, signaling the battle to come is certain to be an ugly one. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
The Donald Trump assassination attempt has led to the resignation of the head of the U.S. Secret Service. Kimberly Cheadle told staff she did not want the controversy surrounding her to be a distraction from their work. The CBC's Thomas Dagla reports.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm?
Just 24 hours after she was grilled by U.S. lawmakers and insisted she's not quitting.
Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
No, thank you.
U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle is now resigning. Writing in a letter to staff, in light of recent events, it is with a heavy heart that I have made the difficult decision to step down as your director.
It's overdue. She should have done it days earlier, and now we have to look forward, ensure that the mistakes don't ever happen again.
I have led with integrity.
Cheadle faced calls to step down ever since this happened. Her agency failing to prevent that assassination attempt on Donald Trump 10 days ago. On Capitol Hill Monday, Cheadle admitted the rooftop the shooter fired from had been flagged as a security concern.
We have people
right here, right on the roof.
And that the Secret Service had been repeatedly warned about a suspicious person at the rally.
The Secret Service's solemn mission is to protect our nation's leaders. On July 13th, we failed.
On his social media platform, Trump today posted, "The Biden-Harris administration did not properly protect me." Biden appointed Cheadle to lead the Secret Service 2 years ago. Today, he said in a statement, "Jill and I are grateful to Director Kim Cheadle for her decades of public service." Already, Deputy Director Ronald Rowe has been named the interim chief as the agency faces scrutiny over those security lapses in Pennsylvania and again ramps up protection for presidential candidates ahead of the November vote.
I believe a crisis management team needs to be installed until the election, at least, to help the American people regain faith in the Secret Service.
All of it casting a harsh spotlight on an agency that's not meant to attract attention. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
State police in Illinois have released body cam video showing a sheriff's department deputy fatally shooting a black woman at close range in her home. Sonia Massey was shot 3 times. And a warning, we're about to show you some of the video of the moments leading up to the shooting, and some viewers may find it distressing.
1 second.
Check on her.
Let me get this.
No, we don't need a fire while we're here.
Right. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Where you going?
Huh?
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you in the name of
You better not. I swear to God, I'll you straight in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot! Drop the pot!
Toward the end of the interaction, you can hear Massey saying, "I'm sorry," as she ducks down. She had called police to her home on July 6th to report a possible intruder. The shooting immediately drew condemnation from the community as well as state and local officials. Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson was arrested and fired. He's been charged with first-degree murder, aggravated battery, and official misconduct. He has pleaded not guilty. Deaths from a landslide disaster in Ethiopia have risen dramatically. Yesterday, officials said 50 people were killed. Today, the number is 229. There were 2 landslides, one Sunday night, one yesterday morning. People trying to rescue victims of the first were caught in the second. It happened in Ethiopia's southwestern mountains, and it followed heavy rain. The UN has reported ongoing floods in the region this year. As the Paris Olympics get underway, Chief Correspondent Adrienne Arsenault is hosting the National from the City of Light. She got a close-up look at the restoration of one of the great landmarks in Paris. Notre Dame Cathedral was severely damaged by an intense fire 5 years ago, and Adrienne shows us how the rebuilding is going.
Take a moment to consider what a rare look this is at a very special place. We're above Paris. You can see the city skyline. There's the Eiffel Tower. But where are we standing exactly? This is the construction site for the restoration of Notre Dame Cathedral. You're looking at the spire right there, that iconic spire that collapsed into the cathedral itself when there was a fire back in 2019. Maybe it was a cigarette, maybe a short circuit. They're still not entirely sure, but a fire broke out on the roof, most of which was destroyed. The enormous iconic spire completely collapsed. So it seemed catastrophic initially beyond repair, but because of the vaulted ceilings, much of the inside survived, including some of the extraordinary stained glass. Some believed that it would be impossible to restore this place. At the very least, it would take some 20 years. But the French president said no. It would be done roughly within 5 years, and so far they're on track to be able to open to the public at the end of 2024. So there is hypervigilance here. That is why we have to wear these outfits on the way in, a full shower on the way out, because of all the lead dust that is being used here. Everything that is happening at Notre Dame Cathedral is an homage to how it was built some 800 years ago. So let's look at this, for example. This is extraordinary. This is La Croix de Chevet. This original cross, when the fire happened, completely collapsed into the debris. But they were able to find it and restore it and put it back up again. All of the roofing that you see, all of the woodwork, it's been a matter of not just sourcing the right wood, but precisely the right trees, the right stones. They are recreating the tools that were used 800 years ago to rebuild this. The hope is that when it opens, the scars of the fire will be invisible to see. You won't be able to see what happened. The fire itself will just become a note in the history books, but hardly the end of the story of the Cathedral of Notre Dame. Adrienne Arsenault, CBC News, above Paris.
Choosing Paris for this year's Olympics brings the game to a city where famed historic sites are everywhere. And in choosing the competition venues, the city is making the most of that history. The CBC's Heather Hiscox reports. Just look at this place. It's astounding. The Palace of Versailles, one of the greatest achievements in French art and architecture. It started as a humble royal hunting lodge in the late 1700s and grew into more than 2,300 rooms, transformed into one of the grandest palaces in Europe. It was the symbol of the absolute monarchy and the power of the king. One of its most stunning features, this fountain, with the famous gilded sculpture of Apollo on his chariot. Apollo, the sun god, the emblem of Louis XIV, the Sun King. It's been recently restored to its original resplendence, just in time for its latest Versailles transformation into Olympic venue. Down there, see those spectator stands? All of the equestrian events of the Olympics and the modern pentathlon are going to be held there in the gardens. Paris 2024 organizers made the deliberate move to take the games outside, into public spaces with some of the most iconic French monuments as breathtaking backdrops. In the days to come, you'll see beach volleyball at the base of the Eiffel Tower, archery in front of Hôtel des Invalides and Napoleon's tomb, breaking or breakdancing in the Place de la Concorde, scene of more than 1,000 beheadings during the French Revolution, fencing in Le Grand Palais. In most cases, organizers put in temporary structures, not new venues, to allow them to minimize the environmental impact. But it's also allowing the beauty and the history of Paris to shine and imbuing the Olympic spirit with the spirit of one of the world's great cities. Heather Hiscock, CBC News, Versailles. Adrienne Arsenault will co-host the National from Paris this week. CBC live coverage of the opening ceremony of the Olympics begins Friday at 2 p.m. Atlantic. The event itself will kick off at 2:30. Losses in the energy sector pushed Canada's main stock down today, while the U.S. stock markets also dipped. Here's a look at where the markets went as we head to break. Well, your mailbox has been full with lots of gorgeous pictures,
Yeah.
right? Folks getting out and about and enjoying Nova Scotia.
Yeah, summer season is usually when the mailbox is at its fullest, although it has been a good year overall. Let's have a look at our picture tonight, and this one coming to us from a beautiful spot. This one, Glen Haven, and not just the humans.
Is that an owl?
It is.
How cool is that?
What a shot. This
Wow.
owl just at dusk, and yeah, Beth
Good
on the
shot.
trigger with a fantastic photo of the owl taking in the nice sunset.
Looking very wise, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Ryan's picks at cbc.ca. Thanks so much to Beth for sharing, and her mom for urging her to share. We appreciate it.
We do.
Temperatures tomorrow ranging between 21 and 25, 20 across Cape Breton, where the showers are going to linger a little bit longer. Cape Breton, Guysborough, Antigonish, that's going to be our best chance of a shower tomorrow morning early on, and then we'll clear the skies. Thursday does look like we will see the clouds dominant for the most part. Cape Breton likely a little brighter with a mix of sun and cloud and a better chance for some of those sunnier breaks as we watch the timeline here. So there's that system again, kind of stubborn to depart, but it will do so by lunchtime, it appears, for Cape Breton. There are those few sunny breaks into the afternoon, just an isolated risk of a shower. Next system approaches, and there are those clouds, which are going to be stubborn, but again, for the most part, dry. That muggy meter is creeping up over the next couple of days, so just be mindful of that. It'll drop off a little bit for Friday into Saturday, the humidity will, and then really look set to increase for early next week. So just be mindful of that.
Definitely. All right, well, we've got some exciting news for country fans. 2 of next year's Cavendish Beach Music Festival headliners have been announced. I know you're a fan, Ryan. Shania Twain is set to headline on the first night of the festival. She's out on tour now and recently performed at Glastonbury, a huge festival in the UK.
It'll be great. And Saturday night, American singer Lainey Wilson will close the festival. Her hits include Watermelon Moonshine and Heart Like a Truck. PEI's Cavendish Beach Music Festival happens July 10th through the 12th, 2025.
All right. Well, that is it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Good night.